What if I told you that in 2025, one of the biggest threats to American democracy isn't a foreign enemy or a hacked election, but a map? A map so carefully drawn, it can erase millions of voices without a single vote cast. And it's happening right now in Texas. Who's behind it? Why are lawmakers fleeing the state to stop it? And what does this have to do with Donald Trump's plan to retake power? Stay with me, because this isn't just about Texas. It's about whether your vote still matters at all. Texas, the Lone Star State, home to barbecue, boldness, and now one of the most blatant attacks on democracy in modern American history. A political earthquake just shook Texas. The Republican-led Texas House Redistricting Committee just advanced a plan that could hand the GOP 5 more congressional seats. But at what cost? This isn't just redistricting. It's voter suppression on steroids. It's not about party lines. It's about drawing lines in the sand that erase Black, Latino, and Asian voters from fair representation. Let's rewind. Remember when Trump called Georgia's Secretary of State and said, "I just need you to find 11,780 votes"? Georgia said no. But when Trump called Governor Greg Abbott and said, "Just send me 5 congressional members," Texas said, "Sure, coming right up." No hesitation, no shame. So Texas Democrats did what no one expected. They ran. Not from responsibility, but from complicity. Over 50 Texas Democrats fled the state, headed to Chicago, New York, and Boston. Not on vacation, but to deny the Texas House a quorum and block this sham of a redistricting plan. "Subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York," one Democrat said. "He's gonna come get us." How? Bold? Yes. Dramatic? Definitely. Necessary? Absolutely. And leading the charge was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She didn't show up quietly. She came with receipts, fire, and a voice that could not be ignored. "This legislature has consistently been found to be intentionally racially discriminatory in the drawing of its maps," she said. "And I'm old enough to remember that it was a great Texan who signed the Voting Rights Act." Texas gained nearly 4 million people in the last decade. 95% of them people of color. But how many new majority-minority districts did the GOP draw? 0. By the math, there should be 24 districts where voters of color can choose their representatives. There are only 14. That's not a coincidence. That's manipulation. They didn't just ignore the numbers, they erased the people behind them. Coalition districts where Black, white, Latino, and Asian voters come together to elect someone who actually represents their needs were systematically eliminated on purpose. And when they were called out, they claimed they were following court orders. But those were the same racist lines the courts told them to fix. They redrew them anyway. Fresh ink, same discrimination. They swore this wasn't about Trump. But every one of these new maps conveniently helps him claw back power. They know they're going to lose, so they're rigging the system to win anyway. Crockett didn't hold back. She said the quiet part out loud. "This is about cementing white minority rule, choking out real representation, and bulldozing the Voting Rights Act along the way, because that's what this is. A full-blown democracy rescue mission. These lawmakers aren't just protesting. They're fighting to protect you. They're standing up for the voices the GOP wants to erase, and they're demanding what should have never been taken away: real representation, fair elections, and voting rights that actually mean something. Raise your hand if you support the Texas Democrats and Representative Jasmine Crockett for standing up and fighting back. Because in 2025, it is outrageous that we still have to fight for basic representation. But here we are. And thank God for people like Jasmine Crockett, who aren't afraid to speak the truth, show the receipts, and hold the line. Republicans said these maps were fair, but 40% of Texas is Anglo, And yet over 60% of congressional districts are controlled by Anglo majorities. That's not fairness. That's fraud dressed up as policy. They said they represented all Texans, then carved out the districts where communities came together across race and culture to choose their leaders. Gone. Erased. They said they'd comply with the courts, then redrew the same lines with a fresh pen and a wink. And when asked who the maps benefit, suddenly everyone has amnesia. Crockett didn't let them slide. She hit them with the hard questions. Why are you doing this? Why erase voters of color? Why dismantle districts where people of every background came together? What the hell are you so afraid of? And when Republicans laughed it off, ducked the questions, dodged accountability like it was sport, she brought the facts, the rigged math, the broken promises, the lies dressed up as legislation. She laid it all out, point by brutal point, lie by lie, cover-up by cover-up. This isn't governance. This is a hostile takeover. And it's not just happening in Texas. This is the blueprint. A dry run for what Donald Trump and his loyalists want to do nationwide. Redraw maps, suppress votes, choke out communities of color, and hand power back to a minority that knows it's losing its grip. They want to lock in control, not by winning votes, but by canceling them. Texas is the proving ground. But if they win here, they'll try it everywhere. That's why this fight matters. That's why this walkout wasn't just a stunt. It was a stand. Because when you see a house burning, you don't just knock on the door. You sound the alarm. You grab a hose. You fight. Major Richard Ojeda put it bluntly. There were more Americans who chose not to vote than who voted for Donald Trump. That silence gave him power. This time, silence is surrender. We need independents. We need Democrats. We need everyone who believes in democracy to show up in 2025 like our rights depend on it, because they do. Let's be clear. This isn't about maps. It's about power. About rigging the game before the opening whistle. And if they succeed, it won't stop in Texas. It'll spread. So if you're watching this, and you care about your vote, your voice, and your future, this is the moment to act. Support leaders like Jasmine Crockett. Stand with lawmakers who are willing to walk out to protect your right to walk in and vote. We're not just defending democracy. We're deciding if it survives. And every Republican voter in Texas, still hanging on to the promise of GOP leadership, ask yourself, how's your life right now? What's changed for the better? The answer is nothing. They haven't elevated you. They haven't helped you. They've used you. It's time to wake up. Because the people who actually care about your schools, your roads, your jobs, your health care, aren't the ones trying to erase your neighbors from the maps. They're the ones fighting to make your vote count, no matter your zip code or your skin color. So let's get fired up. Let's get loud. Let's show up. Let's vote like our democracy depends on it. Because it does.